nerd, because at the end of the day, a lot of people are spiritual. So even if they're in an organized religion, it's still a form of spirituality. It's just highly, highly organized. Is reality a construct? Is it what we make it? Or is all of this actually existing? Spirituality is how we try to understand ourselves and how we try to understand our purpose.
I think it's crazy. I think it's crazy that anybody's on Team Green. There's definitely some like character flaws, like on the oh my god, the
Team Black.
Targaryens. Yeah. So, oh, I guess technically Team Green is also Targaryen, but
Whole
no, they
family.
don't count. I'm sorry. Like, no.
Yep.
Like I just like
I love the I love the pettiness of that. I love the pettiness of that. They don't count.
yeah, no, they don't count. I'm sorry. No. Like, mm-mm. Just because you got the hair doesn't mean Anyway. Um but yeah, like there's definitely a lot of character flaws. It's interesting because there's a lot of times where I'm like, why? But then I have to remind myself, like, Lajoie, it's a show. They have to progress the plot somehow. Like, I really have to remind myself because if you make me mad sometimes, some of the character actions, I'm like, you didn't have, why'd you do that? But anyway, I
Yeah.
digress. But yeah, I love Game of Thrones, love that series. And I love, oh man, yeah. There's just so much depth in that too. Like, remember the scene, and I love this because it's so indicative of, I think, in my opinion, the world that we live in now. But there's this scene, I think it's in the third season, where oh man, I don't even know. Khaleesi's like henchman. I mean, he's not a henchman like in a creepy way, but you know what I'm talking about. The one who like he low key loves her, but it's kind of weird. Anyway, there's a scene.
Your more
Yes,
mouth.
thank you. Yeah, shoot, names are not my thing. But he's on the boat with oh man, with Peter Dinklage. So I don't know. I'm really bad with names. His character's name,
Tyrion.
Tyrion, thank you. Anyway, so
Tyrion Lannister.
yeah, so they go through like they're on this boat and they're going through the water through the, I want to say, Viserion, like um uh oh my god, uh ruins. Do you remember that scene?
Yeah, and the grayscale.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So I love this scene because it's really indicative of Earth. He didn't, like, this is the thing. George R. Martin, he didn't get these out of nowhere. Like, they are very reflective of the world we live in now. And I love that scene because we see that, when we go to Egypt or when we go to Peru, even, we see architecture and technology that we don't even understand now. And in that scene, they actually, again, season 3 got that dialogue. I think it's a season 3, but they still had that inner dialogue where the henchman, I forgot whatever his name is, he talks about that. He's like, we don't even have this technology anymore. And I'm like, that's Earth. Like, I don't know, like, it's just this moment where I'm like, yeah, like, this is actually, so reflective of the world we live in now. Like, it's really, really cool. So I really love that aspect of Game of Thrones. Do you have a Game of Thrones deck? Is there one out there? There's probably one out there at this point.
There is a House of the Dragons deck that
Okay.
I think has finally been released. I don't know yet. Um, but there is not one for Game of Thrones, I don't believe, because I looked.
Oh.
I
Maybe one
looked.
day.
Yeah, yeah. But it didn't I didn't see a Game of Thrones. Like I said, I did see a House of the Dragon, and I think it if it's not released already, I think it'll be released either next month or July, something like that.
Oh, you got it on, like, okay. You're like, I'm tracking it.
I'm tracking, yes.
I
Yes.
love that.
Which is still not enough. I'm like, can we get a Mass Effect tarot deck or Oracle deck or something?
Oh my god, why you mentioning all the Mass Effect too? I didn't play it as much. I mostly watched my brother play Mass Effect, but still obsessed with that game. And now they have a game out that's super similar to Mass Effect, and I forgot what it's called, but I just played that recently.
I know they did Mass Effect Andromeda, and people hated on it so much. They're like, okay, fine, we're not going to make a sequel because they had a sequel planned, and it wasn't until COVID when people actually were like, I don't have anything to do. Let me play this game. And they started playing Mass Effect Andromeda. And they're like, oh, this is such a good game. And the developer's like, well, too late. We're not going to give you a sequel. We're going to go back to the original Mass Effect line. And so,
Right.
what the next Mass Effect game is, not sure. I just saw like a teaser of it, and it was Liara. But they made it clear Shepard is dead, I think. I don't know. I don't know. There's also talk that Amazon might do a Mass Effect TV show, which I hope doesn't happen.
I'm here. Look, even if it does, I'm still here for it
I
because at the end of
bec-
the day, like they have good plots. Like video games have really good plot lines. But
they
why are you
do
not here for it?
because I because people play Shepard differently.
Oh,
You
right.
know, people play
Right,
Shepard
right, right,
differently.
right.
You know,
I
as
forget
far
the
as
different
I'm
options.
yeah, as far as I'm concerned, as as a woman, I'm tired of seeing these men, even if it's even if it's marginal, even if it's like Hispanic, Latin, black men. I can we get more with female leads? Because I already know the default is probably going to be go with a male shepherd. So just that alone, I'm like get it out of here. So
They might do a woman though, because they made the main character for, oh no, actually no, they had several main characters. I was thinking about Fallout, but it was several main characters. It wasn't just, but I don't know if they go with the same team that did the Fallout TV show, then I would think that maybe they'll make it a woman lead. But like you said, everybody plays it differently. There's like, yeah, that's so true. You can't. It would be a little bit of a challenge
yeah.
to do it. Like, or I guess they would make it the most ideal, right? They make the perfect, the typical hero choices. I think that's what they would end up doing. Yeah. So, but I'll still watch it. I'll still watch it. Look, I'm sorry, but
I would watch it reluctantly, but I mean that's that really is the draw for a lot of this stuff. That's the draw for the comic books, the video games, the science fiction, and I was sitting here just thinking to myself a few times, more than more than a few times actually, about why these types of stories resonate so well. And because it's people who are like, why are you watching that cartoon, or why are you still reading comic books? That's what kids do. Well, for one, I was reading comic books since I was a kid, and I still read comic books. I haven't bought some in like 2 years, but I am an adult comic book reader. Yes, I'm an adult video game player. um and it's part of it is nostalgia, not gonna lie. Part of it is the escape from whatever you have
mhm,
going on in your life and
right.
in the world. But the other part of it, which a lot of people don't talk about unless you're taking some kind of like um creative writing class or maybe a psychology class, is the hero's journey. And
Mm,
when you talk about that, then you really actually, yeah, you start to get into human psychology just a little bit. Same thing with Carl Jung. He actually is the one who identified and named character archetypes or archetypes. I can't talk today.
no, you
And
good. You
yeah, and so he Joseph Campbell is who gave us the hero's journey. That whole um, starting out, you see the protagonist, and then they have the inciting incident, call to adventure, meeting the sage, all those kinds of things, reborn, and all of that. But before that, like I said, the groundwork for that was kind of laid by Carl Jung, who gives us archetypes like the hero, the sage, you know, the outlaw, all of those kinds of things. And the thing is I sat there. I'm like, why does this resonate so much? And I just couldn't really wrap my head around it until I did an even digger deep dive into some of Jung's psychology and
Mm-hmm.
realized, oh snap, this is ways in which we try to understand ourselves as beings, not simply as humans, but as beings. It's how we try to rationalize our existence. Why are we here? What is the meaning of life? What is going on? So, looking at it from that perspective, I'm like, oh, and that just really, for me personally, opened up everything. And so I'm like, okay, that's when it clicked. And that is when I gave myself permission to start doing my business the way I am doing it now and being the psychic nerd. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people are spiritual. So even if they're in an organized religion, it's still a form
Mm-hmm.
of spirituality. It's just
Yeah.
highly organized. Excuse me. So spirituality is how we try to understand ourselves and how we try to understand our purpose. And so when you have something like a Spider-Man, a Batman, a Wonder Woman, a She-Hulk, or whoever, or whatever, that's when you say, oh, I can recognize a little bit of myself in this person or character. They may have a similar tragic backstory. You know, Batman, we see him, he starts out as an orphan. There are some people who lost one or both parents when they were young. There are people who, like, Wonder Woman, they left their home country, and they go to a whole different place. Well, kids who are immigrants, they go from one country, in the new country, they're a fish out of water.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things that, yeah, it's cool, it's fun, it's imaginative, absolutely, but it resonates so well because it's ways in which we understand ourselves.
In what way? So yeah, like so is it because we see ourselves in the characters?
That's part of it. That is part of it. Part of it is there's that backstory, but the other part of it, I believe, is because we truly are trying to figure out who we are and what we are. So, are we human beings, or maybe we're something else? And that's really when you start to have something like the Matrix come in,
Mm-hmm.
because we have a world where it's not real, and it gets you to question, is reality a construct? Is it what we make it? Or is all of this actually existing? And that's the other part of it too. It allows us to have these conversations and think about some of these life questions in a way that's not as intimidating or weird like religion and spirituality. It's a more casual way for us to think of these concepts and question ourselves, our world around us, because some people do believe that thoughts become things. Your life is what you make it. All of that stuff. So when you have something like the Matrix, it can put it into a context that is, yes, entertaining, cool, and all of those things, but it puts
Make sure to check out our community discussion all about healing, love, and empowering you to process your emotions right below the video in the comments. It's that easy. I can't wait to talk to you soon. Peace.
but it puts it in a context where you can actually talk about it with other people, and it's comfortable for the watcher to digest it and question those things and pull out what's meaningful for them.
But I love watching TV and then seeing the truth of who we are, being presented in a show. And it's so cool because like you said, yeah, it allows people to have these conversations even more so, um about being spiritual, about spirituality, about the construct that we live in, and the context of how we navigate this existence. And it's so cool because I feel like, I mean, now I feel like it's a little different than it was 10 or 20 years ago, like when the Matrix first came out. And you know what's crazy too? I think for me, it's kind of weird. I feel like everybody watched The Matrix. So even me, I came from a household where my parents really tried hard to not let us watch PG-13 or yeah, PG-13 movies when I was, 7 or 8. I know for some households it's different, but I feel like every household though they always had the exceptions, right? And I feel like for us the exception was The Matrix. That was like one movie where we literally, I remember that too. We sat down. I think it's because my mom hadn't watched the movies either. But we sat down one evening and we watched all three of them as a family. Like it was like, and it's again, for me it was funny because it literally it's one of the few movies that my parents allowed us to watch at such a young age. Um and I think the other one was Lord of the Rings too, because my brother, when he watched it for the first time, he was like obsessed. So then my parents were like, "Oh, we can we're gonna go watch it." But those are like the big two that that my parents had let us watch, and either way, I feel like, especially in those times when we didn't have social media, like literally, we did not have social media, and we didn't. We had email, and that was crazy. You had to go to the store and buy. Do you remember that, by the AOL CD? Actually, I don't even know if you're my age, so I don't know if you remember this or not.
Yeah. Actually, the AOL CD used to come in the mail
Oh,
because they wanted
really?
everybody to use it. It used to come in the mail for free, and you had like a free, like 1 week trial or something like that, and everyone was on AOL.
Yeah.
So that was the that was the thing. I was in high school when the internet was officially introduced along with email, and that was the mid 90s. That was
Yeah,
the
okay, yeah, I was
mid
gonna say, okay, I was like, you,
90s.
you, okay, you're older than me, because I remember going to the store. So I remember when I saw AOL, it was when it was starting to fizzle out. So I saw it at the store. They
Yeah.
had it, on the display and stuff. They would have like these boxes, and I remember that too. Right, you're right. It wasn't the mail because I remember like picking up the box and being like, "Hey, mom, do you want to get it?" And I think my mom got it, and I was like, "Why didn't you keep the box?" Like, because what you said was right. Right, they mailed it to you. You didn't just buy, you didn't buy it at the store. But then I think within like a year or two, I didn't see any in the store anymore. Like it was gone. Like the AOL thing just died real quick.
It did. It was sudden too. People moved on quick. I was like, what? We didn't use it. Not that I used it that much. I didn't really like it. Um, but it just was one of those things where, yeah, it's pre social media.
Yeah, but pre-social media, my point is, it was harder to find connections, find communities, find people to have these conversations with. I think back then you had to go to a convention to find, another Trekkie or something like that. But there were still communities. Like I remember even my dad, like he was in the military, so I think he did find like his group of people who he really, could talk about this stuff with or hang out um, and find common interests. But it's so much cooler now because now with the internet, with social media, I think specifically, we're able to connect with other like-minded people with so much more ease. Okay, if I wanted to find my little tarot community or my matrix community, I just need to go on YouTube, type in the matrix, or go on TikTok, type in the matrix, and then find other people to connect with. It's so much easier now, whereas back then, it was more in person. Um, but it was a challenge. It was different times. It was different times. I think for me at least, it's really cool to have lived, even though I was really young, I was a kid. It's really cool to see, the first couple cell phones. Like my mom had a cell phone, I think when I was like 9. Um, there was one kid in my elementary school who had a cell phone, and it was because I'm pretty sure his parent was a drug dealer. Like, I'm not gonna lie, because he was like, "Yeah, like my dad has like 6 of these," and I'm like, "Why he has 6 phones?" Like. But I was like, "But right," and he was like in 5th grade. Like this is like a kid, but he was the only one with a phone. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, it was
Exactly.
really just interesting seeing that. It's very, very different time. And yeah, I always say now, I think we're lucky because I think Gen Z is kind of messed up because of they have social media but without any restrictions. And I've been to retreats where the kids, who are in high school, um, they have to see their phone. They had to check their phone every day. It was crazy. Like they were addicted to it and they knew it, but they were like, no, I have to check it just once a day. Like it's really, really crazy. So I think with Gen Alpha, there's a little bit more consciousness around social media. And I think with Gen Beta, there's going to be even more so. But yeah, I think Gen Z is it's hard, but it's not everybody too. There's I have some friends who are Gen Z.
So, have you ever felt like you're meant for more? You're here for a reason. Something inside of you knows that there's more. There's more purpose, there's more connection, there's more fulfillment, there's more love to be enjoyed in this life. What if all of that was here right now? Your life easier to navigate, your dreams easier to manifest. You can live in a life of ease, even in these uncertain times with Pluto being in Aquarius. Your community of expansion is right here at your fingertips. From the moment you enter, you feel the sense of release and comfort. No more wondering if all those downloads you got as a kid were just random thoughts. No more wondering that time you had telepathy, thinking that it was just a fluke. Be with the people you know are here for you. Join our ever-expanding community on Patreon for free. And for those of you who ask, yes, the Wellness Library is included. I love y'all so much. Let's get back to the show. Peace.
Yeah. It's it's not just them though. I know one of the things that I did was I just turned off push notifications for almost everything. Almost all of my, even my email, because I'm sitting here, I'm like, y'all are not gonna sit here and keep sucking me in. So that really has taken a lot of my focus away from my phone. And it's gotten me to where I'm not on it hours and hours and hours on end. Because I'm not gonna lie. Before it became, listen, when it was Twitter, I was I was on Twitter every day, and it was such a big Star Trek community that I found on
Oh
that platform.
wow. Okay.
Yes, including actors from the various series. And every once in a while, you'd say something, you'd comment or something, and you may come back like an hour later and they liked your comment. I had that happen a few times. I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
that's so cool.
LeVar Burton liked my comment.
Oh, that's
And
so
he's
cool.
probably like my favorite. He's the reason why, like I said before we started recording, he's the reason why I started watching Star Trek The Next Generation. I was first introduced to him as a kid watching Reading Rainbow. So that was my introduction to LeVar Burton. I did see him when he was much younger, and he was in
Make sure to check out our community discussion all about healing, love, and empowering you to process your emotions right below the video in the comments. It's that easy. I can't wait to talk to you soon. Peace.
younger, and he was in the original Roots, and they did the rebroadcast in like the 90s. I think they would rebroadcast it like every year or every other year, like they did with the Ten Commandments every Easter. So I so I am sitting there, I'm like, oh, that's LeVar Burton. And I called him LeVar Burton for the longest time, not realizing he's Jordy LaForge in the show,
Oh, that's funny. Okay, okay.
right?
Hmm.
Which, by the way, I am on Instagram. I did a actually I'm starting, have started a series where I'm talking about what I think the astrological big three is of the different Star Trek, the Next Generation characters, and I did Geordi. I have a few clips on my Instagram where I talk about Geordi. So check that out if you want at the Psychic Nerd on Instagram. I am doing a live tomorrow, and I believe I'm gonna finally talk about data. Maybe Riker. Might do Riker next.
Oh, okay. Okay, so is it Data? Okay, so let's talk about Star Trek Next Gen because I've heard from multiple people that it is actually a very spiritually, and some people would argue accurate show in terms of relating kind of the deeper truths of our existence beyond Earth. That's how I'm gonna put it. That's how I'm gonna put it. Can you talk about that real quick? Can you talk about what are some of the spiritual things that you've seen that are actually some truths that are being revealed through that show?
The main one I would say is data, because to everyone else, he's he's perfect. He's an android, or at least he's as perfect as a human could possibly be. And they look to him to, in a way, be better. But data looks at them with the desire to be more human, especially since
That's it for part 2. I'll see y'all in part 3.